Welcome to GreenBiz Studio. I'm James Ball, the Director of Buildings at GreenBiz, and I'm very excited to speak with Mason Emnett, the Senior Vice President of Public Policy at Constellation Energy. Hi, Mason.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us today. It's an interesting time right now. I want to dive right in with the amount of companies that are setting decarbonization goals, right? Major Fortune 500 companies have committed to reaching net zero carbon emissions by 2050, and for a lot of them, even sooner. Help us understand how these companies are moving from goal setting to really taking action on these goals today.
Sure, it is an exciting time. The amount of new clean generation that's being supported by customer goals is really incredible. We've got about 60% of the Fortune 500 with those types of goals, and they are driving investment in preserving and expanding our clean energy fleet. We do have, though, most of those goals structured in a way that are matching annual production with annual usage. And that is creating a bit of a mismatch as we look into the future of the type of clean energy resources we're going to need in order to ensure that we're actually reaching 100% clean energy usage.
So you mentioned this kind of like annual perspective on that. What's next, right? If that doesn't really truly lead to zero for 24/7 energy, help us understand what is a better approach to thinking about true zero emissions.
Sure. We see a lot of companies now that have reached their 100% goals or are approaching them. They've got line of sight and they are thinking through, what does that next step look like? We have companies that are already at 100% in some regions, realizing that they're using 30 to 40% of emitting resources in order to true up and match to those times where, say, the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining. And so we're working with those customers to develop hourly clean energy products that are starting to identify where those additional opportunities are to support, again, the preservation or expansion of clean energy in order to ensure that each customer really is truly meeting their 100% carbon emission goals.
So get this a little bit more visceral for me. What does that technology look like? How do you go about accomplishing that?
Sure. This is a really exciting area of clean energy growth, and it starts with data, understanding when and where a customer is using electricity, and then identifying the sources of clean energy that can match to that consumption on an hourly basis, and to ensure that you actually have true clean energy use for all consumption that's occurring on the grid. We have a partnership with Microsoft where we've developed a platform to ingest that data, identify the gaps, and then we can work with the customer to determine a portfolio that would meet their needs. That could include a collection of nuclear resources supporting an existing wind or solar PPA. It could include investments in new types of technology like geothermal or battery storage. But the key here really is identifying what next steps a customer could take in order to either start its path on ensuring that it's using clean energy for every hour of its consumption, or build on the progress that it's already been making in achieving its emission reduction goals.
You mentioned investing. I would think that the financing of this is still a major barrier. What is the financial approach to it? And is the IRA really making a difference here? How are people taking advantage of the latest kind of policies and financing out there?
Yeah, the IRA is truly transformational in terms of the support that is providing for the clean energy transition, helping drive an emissions reduction of about 40% by 2030. And so then the question is, what technologies are being supported by that policy and helping us close that gap, particularly with an eye towards this hourly clean energy goals and ensuring that the electricity production and consumption are occurring in the same time frame. And this is where it's exciting. Constellation Energy is the largest owner of merchant nuclear plants in the country. Having an identified policy recognizing the contribution that the nuclear fleet provides through the production tax credit in the IRA, the first of a kind tax credit for an existing resource, really acknowledges that the the 24/7, always on carbon free nuclear fleet can work well with other clean energy technologies in order to ensure that we're truly driving emissions reductions in terms of using a complete portfolio. So that can include nuclear, wind, solar, geothermal, hydro. We need all of the above, and it's exciting to see a technology neutral approach like the tax credits adopted in the IRA combined with the support of the existing nuclear fleet.
Wow, fantastic. Mason, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure, thank you.
You just heard from Mason Emnett, the Senior Vice President of Public Policy at Constellation Energy.